Okay, hey guys, this is a quick update to A Serbian Film. This isn't a review of the film as such, I've already done that. If you check my videos, leave a comment, much appreciated. This update is primarily due to the availability of the film, due to the fact that the American version has now been released. It came out on the 25th of October. Slipcase, similar fashion to the British version. Artwork's pretty cool. There's Milosh on the back there. You've also got the DVD case. Unrated, which indeed it is, however, it is not uncut. Despite being advertised on Amazon.com and Amazon.co.uk as 104 minutes, this version is cut. The cuts are to the scenes that you would expect. It's the newborn scene and the scene of the child being raped at the end of the film. The newborn scene is literally massacred in the American version. They've cut virtually I think every shot of the baby is cut out. Interestingly, the British version, despite being cut by 4.5 minutes, and the American version being cut by only 30 seconds or so, the British version leaves enough of the baby scene intact for you to make sense of it. You see the child being born in this version, you don't in the American version. You see the child being held up and smacked in the British version, amazingly, for the BBC. Which you don't in the American version. The American version, I don't think, shows the child at all. It's pretty much all reaction shots, to the extent that it ruins the rhythm and flow of the scene. I think if you've not seen the film before, even if you haven't seen it before or didn't know what to expect, you would still know that this had been cut. It's very poor, and ruins the enjoyability and impact of the scene. You're distracted to such an extent that I would say, even with a scene that is this extreme, that it ruins that scene for you. So it's very disappointing. They've also cut the scene at the end of the film when Milosh rapes the child. Don't want to go into too much detail in case you haven't seen the film. That's again, in the British version, part of that is shown. You do see the child's face, for example. In the American version, you don't even see the face of the child, even though that shot is not an explicit shot and doesn't depict Milosh raping him. It's only the child after the blanket's been pulled back from his face. You don't even see that, so you have no idea who it is until subsequent scenes, which again obviously clearly ruins the impact of the scene. Interestingly, a shot that is cut in the British version, it's a medium to long distance shot as Milosh looks up as he's approaching the table where the rapes occur at the end of the film, and he sees the child lying next to an adult. You see them from behind, the backs of the legs and the buttocks. That was cut in the BBC version. That is left in the American version. Very strange. So, in the American version, apparently, according to Invincible Pictures, who've released the film Unrated but have censored it, you can see a child's rear end lying on the table, but you can't see the child's face. That might have something to do with the fact that the child was supposedly being raped while the face was being shown, but because that isn't shown in the actual shot of the child's face, I find that ludicrous. You're able to see the shot, not that you would want to. I'm just saying the way they see it is that you're allowed to see a child's rear end naked, but you cannot see his face. It seems absolutely ridiculous. They've ruined the flow of the scene. It would make more sense to cut the initial shot of the child lying on the table and leave in the shot of the child's face, so at least then during the scene you would have that. You would be horrified in the way that the director wants you to be. But if you haven't seen the film before, that would have no effect in the American version. So far as I can tell, there's nothing else that is cut in the American version. They leave in a hell of a lot that the BBC took out. The oral rape, when the guy suffocates the girl with his penis, is fully uncut in the American version. Pretty extreme. So it's impressive that that's been left in. You've also got the earlier scenes where children are juxtaposed with sex. When, for instance, when Milosh is given oral sex and there's a video of a girl sucking on a lollipop, that's left uncut in the US version, that's cut in the British version. However, despite all of this additional stuff in the American version, I would argue that for continuity, if you want to watch this film and fully understand what's going on for the first time, the British version is actually, despite being cut by 4.5 minutes, it's actually more worthwhile watching the British version first than the American version, despite the fact the American version is by far the most complete version of the film released at the moment with English subtitles. That's my opinion. It really is a shame that in sacrificing only 30 seconds or so Invincible Pictures have messed up this release so badly. There are also, I might add, no extra features on the American release at all, whereas on the British release, I don't know if that's too clear, on the British release you get an introduction from the director to the film, you get a 12-page booklet featuring an essay on the film and censorship, and there's also a brief filmmaker's insight short film which features an interview with the, I think it's the writer and the director of the film, that was conducted just after a censored screening in the UK, and they were asked about their opinions on censorship and what they felt about that. None of that has made it to the American release. There's no extras whatsoever. So despite being touted as unrated, and despite being the most uncut version with English subtitles, this is still a disappointing release. It's worth getting hold of for the collection, but ultimately it's disappointing that they've cut it by 30 seconds. I think the reason given, because obviously the film is unrated, it's been cut by the distributor, but the reason that they've given apparently is that they're worried about a lawsuit with regards to the depiction of minors being abused, which to an extent I can understand, but I mean they've left in the menu for the DVD there's a brief shot of the baby during the rape scene, which is cut from the actual film, amazingly, and they've also left in the shot of the child lying on the table, seen from behind but clearly naked. So I don't really understand their reasoning for, that they seems to have done it half and half. It's just such a shame. They've left in a lot of nasty stuff and taken out what they've taken out is admittedly nasty, but not so much more so than what they've left in, I would argue. So it's such a shame that they've cut it so poorly. So if you want the fully uncut version, we're still left with this Swedish release DVD version, which I've reviewed in my other video, so I won't go on about that too much here. And my newly acquired Blu-ray version. This is fully uncut. No English subtitles, but the film is fully uncut. So if you've got another version or you've seen it online and you're a collector or you're a big fan of the film, go for the Swedish release definitely. Despite the fact it doesn't have English subtitles, it is still the definitive version in my opinion for being fully uncut. It's just as effective and powerful even if you don't fully understand the language. I think there's at least one other release that is fully uncut. I'm not sure what country that it comes from, but I've seen a review on YouTube, and it does, unlike these fake versions that people are currently reviewing on YouTube, to my amusement, the last thing you want to do is advertise the fact that you've bought a fake pirated version of a film and put it on YouTube. But yeah, unlike those, that other one does appear to be a genuine release, as is this. If you're a collector of the film, this is the most desirable release at the moment, factory pressed, fully uncut. Region 2, so obviously if you're in America you're going to want a multi-region player. Thankfully if you're in the UK, Region 2 is our region, so you've got no problem there. It plays on all UK players, computers, PS3s, etc. So yeah, for the time being, most significant releases of a Serbian film. If you want content, if you can't find the Swedish release fully uncut, you want English subtitles, American or British. American, if you can cope with the newborn porn scene being ruined and the end of the film having a significant sense of ambiguity that was not intended, go for the American release. I got this for around about 14 quid from Amazon, which is pretty good if you ask me, 3 weeks after its release in America. I'm pleased to get hold of that. If you want continuity and you live in the UK, you could do far worse, to be honest, than the UK version. Although it is cut, it is still genuinely a powerful film, and because the BBFC have cut the scenes in such a way that they are suggested rather than shown, you still understand what's going on, so you won't lose any sense of meaning, which I argue that you do with those two scenes in the American version. So it's up to you. British and American version is pretty widely available at the moment. That is pretty hard to come by. I'm very pleased to have got hold of a copy. I can confirm incidentally that this is banned on eBay, the uncut version. I had a mate who tried to list the DVD and his listing was removed before it even went live, so I can confirm eBay have banned it. Amazon, however, are listing the American version on the UK site and obviously the American site, so potentially we might get that on Amazon or not, I don't know. But yeah, for the time being, it's a rather mixed review. If you can get hold of all three versions, that's what I'd recommend. If you're left with two, you've got to choose between continuity and the most complete version with all your subtitles. So yeah, sorry to ramble on. Any opinions, please leave a comment, let me know. hopefully next up is Human Centipede 2 Uncut. Maybe we'll get an Australian release or an American release, we'll have to see.